Welcome, everyone, to the Inclusion Podcast. I'm Dr. Julie Kostman.
And I'm Dr. Christy Preddy-Franzak. We're so glad you're here as we explore all things inclusion.
So whether you're a school leader, an educator, a parent, or simply passionate about inclusion, this podcast is for you.
In each episode, we go beyond the usual conversations, diving into what truly makes inclusive education work.
Together, let's make a difference, one conversation at a time. Here we go. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine that your workplace hired someone to support you, and they're with you all day long. Sounds good. They also decide when to step in. They decide how close to stand. They touch your shoulder to redirect you. Sometimes they touch your face or your head. Sometimes they speak for you, and they will stay there even when you want space. And you don't get to choose any of it. Whew. Just ask yourself, how would that feel? Would that make you feel more dependent or more independent? Might it change how your coworkers related to you? How might it affect your confidence or your creativity or your sense of privacy? This is not hypothetical because this is a daily reality for many students in inclusive classrooms. And here today, we want to think about what is meant by support through podcast episode 72, The Golden Rule of Support. Would you want this help?
So y'all can't see me or see us while we're podcasting, but Julie made it to the third line in that what if scenario. And I was cringing. I was sweating. I never sweat. I don't that doesn't bug me, but I had a visceral thought. And then when you said somebody might touch my face or my head, I thought, oh no, we are not. I mean, I was going to become violent.
I know. If you could see Christy, I could see her and she was getting shorter and shorter and shorter, meaning she was literally sinking in her chair and like flailing around. But when I said, touch your shoulder or redirect you, you had a big physical reaction.
I'm like, I can't take it. And then when you said what would my colleagues or coworkers think? I was like, oh my God, how horrible if I was in my cubby. It's bad enough to be in a cubicle. Yeah. And then I have a person in the cubicle with me. Oh, sorry, friends. I just, yeah. No, thank you.
Okay, so Christy's a big no thank you. And I'm certain that all of you are like, well, wait, not all support looks like that. And wait, right. We're very good and thoughtful. Of course. But we have to look at what support looks like and actually the lived experiences of people with disabilities who describe what it feels like to be supported. And I will say over supported.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Julie, why don't the title of this episode, two things. Let me tell you where you can get the download for this episode. And then Julie's going to tell you a little bit of a story about where this came to be. But we want to invite, we have other podcast episodes about support is a verb.
Correct.
This download is really about 30 questions you can ask yourself to make just right supports. Mm-hmm. And so it's at inclusiveschooling.com/download 72. But it all stems from this work about the golden rule, which I guess maybe not every culture follows the golden rule, Julie, but you can explain kind of how that came to be and how many people understand the golden rule.
Yeah, so the golden rule probably has biblical implications now that I think of it. And I think it's do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so when I was a new and eager graduate student studying paraprofessional support, I noticed and I actually experienced through observation time and time again, support that I would not want. And I did a bunch of research and I wrote an article called The Golden Rule of Providing Support in Inclusive Classrooms.
And we'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah. And I think it was published in Teaching Exceptional Children. And many, many people have read it and many people still use it today. So it's just kind of this thing that has had a lot of legs, we'll say. So it's taken on its own kind of meaning. And Christy and I thought we would do just a podcast about this idea because we haven't actually taken it from this angle before. But one of the best, like if you wanted the summary of this particular podcast episode, the very best way to make a decision about how to support a student is to consider the implications of that support on the student.
And when you think of support, Julie and I are using that as a verb. So if I'm going to restate something, if I'm going to, God forbid, do hand over hand, if I'm going to give a visual reminder, if I'm going to give a verbal prompt, if I'm going to structure the environment, whatever it is, from highly intrusive to very low intrusive, if it's something that I'm doing as a verb, we need to think about the impact.
Yes, it's all about the impact. And so it's like we have to remember when we're thinking about inclusive education, why is the student included in the first place? And so we
Oh,
have to
sorry. That's that not a question that is there, right? That was hypothetical, rhetorical. Okay, sorry. Okay.
No, that's
So,
fine, Christy. That end of podcast. We're done here.
okay, we're done.
Absolutely.
Our work is done.
I guess I mean
Yeah.
the the benefits maybe is a better way to say it.
Okay.
But I really love what you said. It's because it's the law. But the benefits of inclusion is about creating relationships, having belonging, having learning, growing independence,
Access, participation. Yeah.
progress,
Okay.
right? All
Yep.
those things.
Okay.
However, so often a one-on-one person, a human, is assigned to a student, and the actual support itself gets in the way of inclusion. And it becomes maybe too consistent, too close, too invasive. And when we did this study, and if you don't know who Michael Giangreco is, he's kind of this incredible scholar who's done a lot of work also in this area. But what we found is there are some problems with paraprofessional support in that it separates students from peers. Sometimes it replaces teacher interaction. Sometimes it interrupts learning. Sometimes it limits creativity. And very often it creates dependence on adult support. And so, if we're not thoughtful and careful about adult support, we can actually undermine inclusion.
Yeah. And remember, Julie and I have a very broad definition of inclusion. I'll link to it in the show notes, but it's about a sense of belonging where the student gets to show up as a whole person who does not need to be fixed. So if when Julie says, does it actually support or get in the way of inclusion? She's asking, does that support a sense of belonging or does that get in the way because we're trying to fix a student? If you look at the download for episode 72, you'll see that we're talking about quote unquote just right supports. I think, Julie, for this one, the kicker goes back to other episodes we've talked about is whose nervous system are we using to make these determinations? And so oftentimes the determinations of the type of support, whether it's a para doing actions or just actions without an adult, we don't get input from the student. We don't seek input, even if that's like not direct, let's say indirect, like I'm noticing how you feel when somebody, holds you by your suspenders and keeps you at circle time. Like it can be that way of getting the voice of the student. It doesn't have to be literally, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about these 30 different questions that we could ask ourselves to give the just right supports. So it's not just from our own individual lens.
I'm stuck on suspenders, picturing being held by my suspenders. I'm hoping you've never seen that, but have you?
Oh, yes. We always say if you're a preschooler, don't wear suspenders because it's the easiest way for somebody to get you,
Jeez.
keep you
Okay.
in your chair, keep you on your lap, keep you on your spot.
Okay. Well, I won't wear suspenders now, but I wasn't going to, so that's good. Okay. So when Christy, you kind of invited us to look at this 30 questions to make sure adult support is just right. And I just want to start with the first one. Would I want this kind of support all day? Would I want someone this close to me? Would I want someone speaking to me this often?
Speaking to me or for me, actually.
Oh, exactly. And so, what I love about the way that we've organized these 30 questions is we just have the start here questions, which are called the golden rule check. And then we have further questions that move into the areas of dignity and privacy, independence and choice and voice, and peer relations, and fading and redesign.
So before we go into one of, you can pick one of your favorite. Julie
Mhm.
read the first three of the start here,
Yeah.
but I want you to read the next two. There are five total, friends, and you can get these at inclusiveschooling.com/download 72. There are 30 questions. And she said the golden rule gets kind of this initial check, and there are five of them. And
Mhm.
so, Julie, just read the last two of that section because I think they're so incredible and so powerful that we should all be asking ourselves these.
Mm. So, would I feel more capable or feel more watched? And would I get to choose when help shows up?
Mm,
So those are just the five. And I think literally, if you took those top
yeah,
five
exactly.
and honestly took a teeny video for your internal use only of a student receiving support and then say, would I want this kind of support all day? Would I want someone this close to me? Would I want someone speaking to me this often? Would I feel more capable or more watched? And would I get to choose when help shows up? I think your work here is done because if you just attack those five questions and start to rearrange your support to be more respectful, more private, more interdependent with other kids, giving more choice and voice, more faded or redesigned
Good
tasked,
point.
then we're going to get somewhere really powerful.
And Julie, you read the five, and it's interesting because both times you read number three
Mhm.
differently than it is on the handout. So I'm going to say
Yeah.
there's kind of six that I
Okay.
like them both. So
Hmm.
Julie said, "What would I want someone speaking for? No, to me this often?" And the handout says, "Would I want someone speaking for me this often?" I think both are so important.
Christy, it's just, I have to tell you a quick story. I was observing a paraprofessional for a court case, and this paraprofessional had been bit by this student. Okay. So she's got a scar. She's upset. Where everyone's upset, this kid is biting her. And all I did as soon as I got in there was take a look at the interaction. And I
Yeah.
realized very, very, very quickly that her rate of verbal speech right
Mm.
into the student's ear was intense, to say the least. But I decided to quantify it because I'm a fancy researcher like that. And I took data on how many utterances she made toward this student in a minute. And the average was over 65 utterances a minute. So, literally in my notes, I wrote time of day I would have bitten this paraprofessional was 8:07. Okay. And school started at
School hadn't even started yet.
no, 8 bells. We started at 8 bells. In 7 minutes, I thought to myself, I might bite this human. And I don't mean to be funny because literally this person did get bit and she did get hurt and it was
Right.
a problem. However, we have to look at what our support is doing, the impact on students. And then we have to move to what we call gentle, respectful, thoughtful, kind, golden rule support. And if you don't know that we have an entire paraprofessional training series, I guess I should
Mm.
mention it. We have something called it's called Parabytes. I just put those two together. That's funny.
You're just being so funny in these
Uh,
podcasts we're batching today.
woo! So Parabytes, and it's not BITES, it's BYTES because they're these bite-sized trainings. But now you'll never forget the name. And it's how do you provide those kind of supports that are quiet, faded, thoughtful, kind, respectful, etc.
Well, Julie, then I'm going to, as we start to wrap up, I'm going to just highlight a couple of the questions under fading and redesign
Please.
because I also know that in our work, in how we train and retain paras,
Mhm.
there's rarely a fading plan. And so
Oh,
even when the para understands they need to reduce, back up, be camouflaged, right?
right.
There's pressure on them to remain side by side, Velcroed to the student. So I would say, as if I'm a para and I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, I am doing too much. There's learned helplessness. I'm getting in the way, but I'm assigned to the kid. I would
Mhm.
say use the last 5 questions in today's download and say,
Mhm.
hey, team, we need a clear fading plan. It doesn't mean that I don't need a job here in the district. I
Right.
still need to be here to ensure access, participation, and progress, offer choice, differentiate, remove barriers, include more humor, more fun,
Mhm.
soothe systems, reduce stressors, right? That's a
Yes.
full-time job.
Yes.
But what is my next least intrusive
Intrusive.
step? How do I walk down the ladder of support, which I'll also put in the show notes? Could
Mm.
this task be redesigned instead of, oh, you need more support because this is so far off grade level? How
Mm.
can I make this more accessible? Again, are we removing barriers? Are we managing behaviors? And then if this were my job, what would I change to make it doable? Julie, we've done an episode on unpreferred tasks, and we talked a lot about how, as adults, we modify tasks in order to make them more,
Palatable.
palatable,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
tolerable. So,
Mhm.
why don't we ask that same question instead of like, oh my gosh, this kid has high needs support. This kid needs so much
Mm.
support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. So that's a brilliant redirect is to go to the last questions and ask your team, how do we fade? What does it look like? And I just want to wrap up by just saying, when we're talking about the golden rule, where it's really simple. Support other people the way that you would wish to be supported. And when we ask adults, most people say, I want respectful support. I want discreet support. I want this support faded when it's no longer needed. And students want the exact same thing. Because the goal of support isn't dependence, the goal is dignity, access, interdependence, and independence. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and catch up on past episodes where we share valuable insights, straight talk, and practical steps to challenge outdated special education practices. You can find every episode with the show notes at inclusiveschooling.com/inclusion-podcast to build more inclusive schools together.